There's somewhat of a pattern when it comes to how mothers are portrayed in animation. For starters, a lot of them get killed off for emotional motivation, or in films and series where the kids take charge, they pretty much have to be absent for a lot of it. There's parental pressure stories, and definitely abusive mothers, those that are taken seriously and those whose abuse is straight up attempting to be portrayed comically, and the amount of times in anime specifically where the mother character faded into the background to the point where we forgot about them, or the more uncomfortable circumstances where the show became a literal incest fest. That said, for the list, I wanted to shine some light on some good animated moms that took care of their kids, as well as displayed a compelling and interesting personality. And it wasn't as hard to find actually good mothers as it was hard to actually pick between all of them to put on the list. So before we get to the real list, I do want to quickly make a few honorable mentions. First off, Linda Belcher and Sachiko from Bob's Burgers and Erased, respectively, who I've heard are really great mothers but aren't on the list because I've not watched their shows yet. There's Inko Midoriya from My Hero Academia, she's a good mom. Kobayashi from Dragon Maid because she works really hard and she's pretty sweet. I also thought about putting Maheshwaran from Steven Universe on the list, but ultimately decided not to because she doesn't really have enough moments with Connie. I also want to make a brief shout out to Adeline from Kirby Guardian because this show's so cute, it's so underrated. Go watch it on YouTube right now. Okay, now that the honorable mentions are out of the way, here are my personal favorite animated moms, starting off with...
You were defeated. Don't get hated. Get your stank face treated.
Chicha from Emperor's New Groove. From the very moment she appeared on screen, I instantly fell in love with her character. Her interactions with her children are so adorable and I love every second of each of her scenes. She's such a stern and stubborn wife and a responsible mother figure who wholeheartedly enjoys being a parent. She's loud and expressive of her opinions and handles her own very well. My favorite scene with Chicha definitely has to be when she works with her kids to throw Yzma out of the house. And what's great about this scene, aside from the fact that it's just a really funny and charming scene, is that it showcases the best qualities of her as well as her relationship with her children, ranging from clever and cunning to trusting her kids with this over-the-top ridiculous plan. Not to mention her immense love for Pacha and how much they trust each other, and her voice does sound incredibly familiar. Wait, Ida? In all honesty, she is one of my absolute favorite Disney mothers, period. And speaking of Ida, I decided not to put her on the list because she feels more like a cool, badass mentor figure than a mother figure. Oh, banana. Kala from Tarzan. After losing her only child, Kala comes across an abandoned treehouse in the jungle where she finds a human baby, who she names Tarzan. A large chunk of the first half is dedicated to her specifically, knowing very well that this child won't replace her late one, but is still so generous and kind and empathetic to him. We see how protective she is over Tarzan, worrying about him in regards to the dangers around him, as well as his reputation in their clan. She reassures him time and time again whenever life gets him down, but she's also able to come to terms with being separated from Tarzan. At first, she's apprehensive to the fact that he's discovered more of his kind, but eventually lets him go so that he can make his own decisions in his life. It also helps that there's a time skip so that we can see how much Tarzan has grown, as well as how much his relationship with his adoptive ape mother has grown. If anything, I do wish Kala just had a bit more refinery in her arc, and that last act needed to be longer. But that doesn't stop Kala from being a memorable mother figure to many fans of animation, let alone Disney fans.
Mom! Mom! I need you to be young and hot again!
Carol Kincaid from OKKO. In general, Carol comes off as a cool, calm, and collected mother. She's a kind-hearted and friendly person who will go to the ends of the earth for the people she loves. It helps that she does have a very stable relationship with KO, one that is genuinely wholesome and sweet. But her parenting is proven to be more than just cute and stable. She's gradually shown to be more honest with her son throughout the series, even if at some points she wasn't fully aware of the situation. At one point, KO asks his mom who his father was, and Carol just straight up answers oh so nonchalantly, and she even allows Ko to spend a bit of time with his biological father, who just so happens to be a supervillain that doubles as a pretty wholesome father figure, and she is very open about her new blooming relationship with Ko's boss, Gar. She knows that her son deserves to know everything about her past and everything about life. She's honest and caring to a T, and doubles as a great mentor, teaching almost everything Ko knows today. But she's not afraid to put her foot down when her son gets too out of hand, or more accurately, when the emo side of her son, known as TKO, gets out of hand. And in the darkest of times, she admits that she's made mistakes and that she wants to improve and protect those around her. She's a genuinely good person all throughout the series. And of course, nothing makes a better mom than beating up some bully's arrogant and selfish father the minute they start slandering your son's name. Clara Magnolia from Violet Evergarden. As much as I'd really want to put her higher on the list, I technically can't, since she only appears in one episode, the best episode, and it doesn't help that the plot isn't actually about her, more so than it is about the best child character in any medium ever, fight me. Still, for the time she's on screen, she is undeniably displaying her very best self. Clara is kind, carefree, and all-around comforting to her daughter, as well as to those around her. She's incredibly polite and calm, and she does have this grand image of a mother figure, which is unsurprising for a family that owns a mansion and, for lack of a better term, a maid, but it is straight up amazing what she does in this episode. Her daughter Anne has known about her terminal illness for a pretty long time and is naturally very scared of her mother leaving her behind all alone, with no authority figure or role model to look up to or to comfort her. What any parent would do in this situation is give her their undivided attention, but Clara doesn't just do that. She rents Violet to write 50 letters to deliver to Anne every year on her birthday after she dies of her illness. Now look at me and tell me that isn't best mom material. Clara pushes herself so hard to do everything for Anne, raising her, comforting her, teaching her, spending time with her, and going so far as to write these letters so that Anne won't feel completely alone when she's gone. Because after all, a loved one will always watch over you. If you haven't seen Violet Evergarden, I highly recommend it. It is my absolute favorite animated show of all time. Helen Parr from The Incredibles. While she's not one of my personal favorite characters in general, I can't deny that as a mother, Elastigirl has a lot of merit. For starters, we get a glimpse of her past headstrong superhero self and how she develops over time from that to a loving mother who has adjusted to the society around her. She's a stern follower of the law despite how significantly unfair it is, but she isn't afraid to express her own opinion on that and even certain other matters. Out of everyone in this semi-dysfunctional family, Helen definitely stands out as the mediator who holds the whole pack together. She's very honest and loving to her kids and her husband, and even doubles as an action badass. And even though she may get fed up with her family getting too in over their heads about defying the law, outside of that, she's very patient and kind towards every single one of them. There's a sense of comfort and compassion when she talks with her kids about the danger of certain situations, and she does grow closer to Bob, leading to some genuinely sweet interactions. One of the best moms, but not one of my personal favorite characters, mainly because of how much I've seen her pop up in the top of a lot of people's lists, even though she kinda deserves it a little.
Oh, no. I'm with child.
Send the pig.
Kanga from Winnie the Pooh. Kanga might actually be my favorite Winnie the Pooh character alongside Roo. Sorry, Tigger fans. Throughout the entire franchise, Kanga is a genuinely kind and wise mother figure to Roo and to some of the younger denizens of the forest. I love every second she's on screen, since pretty much every scene she's in has her displayed as someone who is genuinely sweet to those around her. And she has pretty subtle but cute and charming moments with Roo where it seems like their minds are totally in sync, particularly moments in the 2011 movie. I think my absolute favorite incarnation of Kenga has to be from the Heffalump movie, since that best displays her relationship with Rue. And that bedtime scene is still very sweet. Still, not sure who was the one who decided to write a story about how the forest critters kidnapped Rue and replaced him with Piglet just to see if Kenga was a good person. I mean, in the end, she was nice to Piglet, but it doesn't surprise me if people found this even the slightest bit of off-putting. Kaede Kagayama from Non Non Biyori. I know putting her on the list is probably too much of a gimme, especially considering how high she's scored. She isn't really Renge's biological mother or even legal guardian, but she does do a good job of standing in when Renge's parents are out of commission or when her sister is passed out drunk. And at one point when her parents are sick or away, Renge does bring Kaede as a parental figure to a small cultural festival. It is understandable with the comedy gimmick that is your entire town is the population of about 20 or so people, that it does make a lot of the relationships between the cast feel oddly close and personal. But then you get a glimpse of the town's entire history together, and all of a sudden those interactions make total sense. What starts as just a cute, semi-comfortable interaction between candy store owner Kaede and the sadistically dim-witted Renge somehow spirals into this whole backstory heavy history of very quiet and intimate mother-daughter interactions between the two. Kaede has known Renge ever since she was a small little baby, and has grown immensely attached to her to the point where a parental instinct starts to show. She's a calm and collected woman who doesn't necessarily care for her job all that much, since the only customers she's ever gotten are the same 5 kids who go to that same school, which just so happens to be the same school she went to with some of those kids. And because she's pretty easy to talk to, a lot of the times she's the go-to authority figure whenever the girls are caught between a rock and a hard place. Kaede pretty much has everyone figured out and treats them as her closest friends, and especially Renge as if she were her daughter. There are so many memorable moments with Kaede being a good maternal figure. She teaches Renge how to bike, she plays cops and robbers with her, she reads to her in bed, she watches Great Man with her, she ties a bow in her hair in the same style she does for herself. Every single interaction is just so pure and wholesome. It's just so cute. This series is so underrated, you guys. Just go watch Non Non Biyori.
Get excited for pizza!
Garnet from Steven Universe. You could technically put any of the crystal gems on this list, but Amethyst feels more like an older sister, and while Pearl does have some overprotective parent instinct in her, at times she feels more like a teacher. But Garnet is a tried and true mother figure all throughout the show. Initially coming off as a stoic and exceptionally dull leader figure, Garnet slowly starts developing as a very sweet and compassionate role model who values a healthy relationship above all else, which is fitting for someone who is a fusion between 2 lesbian rocks. She's an encouraging leader to her teammates and remains headstrong and composed even in some of the most dire situations. But even as level-headed she is, she can also show some sides of herself that she usually would not want to show, whether it be competitive spirit, overwhelmingly regretful, or spouting nonsense on the spot.
Yes, the children are playing swords. Sorry, playing with swords. They're bleeding. Oh no, they are dead. Don't call again. Sorry, I panicked.
Despite that, she's cool and is probably the most knowledgeable out of the crystal gems, appropriate for someone who has the ability to see possible outcomes in the future. Still, while she is presented as this grand image of a leader, she's a very caring mother figure to Steven. She's very considerate towards Steven and even allows him to come along on certain missions and make his own decisions, even if they are somewhat dangerous. She will do anything for Steven, and she is incredibly honest towards him about her struggles and her insecurities, and even doubles as a great mentor figure, giving him advice about certain aspects of life. She's not afraid to put her foot down when things go awry, but she treats Steven as if he is the most precious thing in the world to her, which is reflected in the majority of her interactions with him, which is really cute. There are other characters from Steven Universe that I like better, but Garnet does deserve to be in my top favorites of that series. Hana from Wolf Children. I saw Wolf Children just last week, and Hana very much deserves to be this high on the list. Hana, upon getting together with a wolf man, gives birth to 2 beautiful children who can spontaneously change into wolves at will. After the man dies, Hana has to raise her kids Ame and Yuki while under some immensely suffocating circumstances and situations. However, her trials and tribulations aren't displayed as melodramatic, as it is pretty lighthearted and comedic, which really helps with the tone of the movie. She overcomes every hardship and obstacle with such endurance and wit. She rebuilds a desolate house, takes care of a large amount of crops, and establishes a strong relationship with her community. She's very trusting of her kids and provides them with a plethora of unconditional love. She spends time with her kids, does everything for her kids, and even gives advice to her kids, as well as takes advice from those around her. Then there's the extra depth of Ame and Yuki becoming fully fleshed out characters, pondering over where they want to go in life, and then seeing how Hana reacts to that and comes to terms with letting go, which is genuinely heartwarming. I'll be honest, it was pretty hard to order all these good moms from all these different franchises, but honestly, it wasn't all that hard to pick my #1 favorite animated mother. Makia from Sayawasa. It is not enough to just say that Makia is the best mother of animation. She is a tried and true goddess amongst animated moms, a compassionate, hard-working parent who enjoys being one, a kind and gentle soul whose adoptive son never once leaves her mind, a true homage to motherhood. Makia is an immortal, unaging girl whose kind is living in prosperity. That is until their clan is virtually wiped out, or swept under the rug, by a neighboring civilization. Makia leaves her dearest family behind and finds herself alone in the forest with a baby in the arms of his deceased mother, which is when she decides to take him in and raise him as her own. What follows is a fascinating unraveling of the entire spectrum of parenthood. And what makes it so spectacular is that this is her son Ariel's entire life from beginning to end, viewed from her eyes. We see and feel the joy in Makia's face when she finds Ariel, the desperation in trying to provide for him, how playful she is from time to time with him, how they've grown apart in his coming years of adolescence, how devastated she is when he rebels and switches sides, but also how she loves him so dearly from the bottom of her heart, and how she comes to terms with the fact that with her being an immortal, he will die before she does. But Makia doesn't raise him alone, she raises him from the help of her mentors and friends who help teach her the ways of motherhood. And in turn, we see how gradually more knowledgeable she becomes to give Ariel advice on the mysterious aspects of life. It also helps that Ariel gets his chance to shine, with him gradually growing apart from Makia so that he can make his own decisions in life, but also how her undivided attention and passionate love has shaped him into the person he is today, and vice versa. And once he's old enough to handle his own, she lets go of him, and they go their separate ways to move along with their lives. And that last ending scene is still emotionally devastating. Makia is, in the truest sense of the word, a goddess, an untouchable image of the perfect mother, willing to go above and beyond to provide for her child and get the help she needs from others to do so. Sayawasa, or for American audiences, Makia When the Promised Flower Blooms, is up there in my top favorite animated films of all time, and it has my absolutely wholehearted recommendation. Please go check it out. So those are my personal favorite mothers of animation. But this is my opinion after all, so tell me guys, who are your favorite animated moms? Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. It takes hours and days to make these videos, whereas it only takes a few seconds of your time to do those 4 actions. As always, thank you for watching, and see you next time.